Hello friends! It's been a while since I've uploaded, but today I am back, and that's not without a reason. It's because I have cancer. Wow, I really jumped straight into that. So long story short, I'm gonna give you some specifics first. Last year, which is 2017, I was diagnosed with bone cancer, and the type of tumor that I had was the Ewing sarcoma, which is a pretty rare one, so that doesn't really help either. And yeah, that's basically my story. Fast forward, it's January 2019 now. Did I say 2017? Oh my god, no. Last year was 2018. Okay, I'm sorry. Last year, 2018, I was diagnosed. This year, January 2019, that's where we are right now, and now I'm telling you guys my story. If you did not know that I had cancer, I guess this might come off as kind of a shocker, you know, me being all no makeup, no hair, looking like Rufus from Kim Possible here, you know. So I'm sorry if I spooked you a little bit, but you know, I see myself every day, so I get used to my new appearance as it is. And yeah, I mean, I could have put on a wig, but honestly, fuck that. I'm just doing it like this. If I'm gonna be a bold little worm, I might as well be a proud little worm. So this is all going to be packed in a little makeup tutorial, little talk through, and then I'll tell you guys my story, the whole process of, you know, finding out, going through my first chemo, almost dying, going through my other chemos, and just, you know, the whole story. But makeup is what I do, and you know, I just don't really like vlogs, so might as well turn it into a little makeup tutorial. We got a little thing going on the background. I'm sorry. Okay, so I prime my eyes. I'm gonna start off with this cute little palette from Nabla Cosmetics, which I put together myself. So yeah, how does one find out that they have cancer? That's, you know, kind of a question. Because I honestly thought, for some reason thought my whole life that I would get cancer someday. I don't know why, but it just made sense to me. But I always thought that it would be breast cancer for some reason. So maybe that'll happen to in the future. Please, I pray to God that it won't, but who knows. But honestly, bone cancer, I never would have guessed. So that came as a complete shocker to me. But yeah, imagine that you wake up someday and you've got pain in your leg. You know, it feels like normal, muscle ache. You know, you did a workout, you did a little bit too much, or you just sprained a muscle. I don't know, it was nothing too bad. So that's what I thought, because I think I did my workout the other day before. So I was like, okay, you know what, I did too much, I'm just gonna take it easy and it'll fix itself eventually. And I thought that for a while, probably like too long, because eventually it had been weeks and my leg was still hurting when I walked and when I moved it. Not specifically when I was like lying down or whatever, but when I walked, it just hurt as soon as I put pressure on my leg and then did the movement. My leg hurt. And I was like, okay, you know what, maybe I should go to the doctor, see what's going on. After like, what, 6 weeks, so I was really late with that. So yeah, that's eventually what I did. And apparently this is also kind of the classic story when it comes to bone cancer, that you feel like you've got muscle soreness and you go to the doctor and then you see a physiotherapist, and eventually you'll find out that you have a tumor, which is not something that you expect, especially on my age. So that's what I did. I went to the doctors and he was like, kind of like, you know, this is a case for your physiotherapist, go see him. So that's what I did. Went to the physiotherapist and they did some exercises with me, did some movements, and you know, he was kind of like unsure what it was. He said it feels like there's some kind of pressure in your leg, but I can't really find out where it is or it's coming from. And he was like, you know what, go on your holiday, because I was planning to go to Spain anyway. And he was like, see if, you know, de-stressing helps, and see if swimming helps a bit, and if it's still bad after that, just come back and we'll have to do some further investigation. But yeah, it never came to that. because when I went to Spain I broke my hip. So anyway, I arrive in Spain, I do my holiday, I go swimming, I do cocktails, the sun is nice, the beach is nice, life is good as far as I was concerned, until it was not. And well, first mistake I made was that I went into the sea, which when we were in the sea I realized it was not red flag but yellow flag, I think. And as soon as we realized, we were like, okay, we need to get out of the water, it's not safe. You know, I got my little limpy leg, but it was already too late. There were big waves coming in and they pulled us back, and we tried to get out and they pulled us back again. And then just when I thought I was getting out, a big wave hit me right at the back of my bad leg, and I screamed and I fell down and I was just in so much pain. And I had no idea what just happened, I had no idea what was going on, I almost drowned. But yeah, fast forward, I was being a dumb bitch again because I should have seen at least some sort of sign that this was not good, not in any way. But no, I was just moving on, so I just thought, oh, you know, I sprained a muscle, no big deal. So I couldn't walk anymore, which should have been a sign. And my boyfriend had to carry me from the car to the apartment, lay me down on the couch, and I stayed there for a couple of days, I think. I wasn't able to get out to eat or do anything, so I had to do everything on the couch. But yeah, I was still, as far as I knew, I had sprained a muscle really, really badly. And I do remember that at some point we said, or I said, but what if it's a scary tumor or some sort of thing like that? And we were both like, nah, that's never gonna happen. Who thinks of that? So that was the first thing that I really should have seen something was wrong. I didn't, I ignored it, stayed on the couch for a couple of days, holiday was ruined, and eventually it started getting better again. I was walking on crutches and swimming was getting better. I was swimming very slowly and everything. And then I think 2 days before we were supposed to go back to my country again, I tried to climb the stairs without my crutches. Why, I don't know, but I just did it without my crutches, thought it was going to be fine. And as soon as I put pressure on my right leg, I collapsed. And as far as I know, I collapsed, I lay on the ground, I screamed like a bitch because I was in so much pain. But apparently I was in shock, or I fainted in between. I don't remember, but my boyfriend said that he thought I was dead for a while because I had just collapsed and I was looking up at the ceiling like no movement, no nothing, no contact whatsoever. So yeah, things had gone pretty downhill from that point. And we had to call an ambulance, and I remember just my leg laying there in such a weird twisted position. I was like, fuck me, I broke my leg, I broke my leg, I broke my leg. I'm gonna have to do revalidation for weeks. I'm gonna have to stay in a casket? No, that's the wrong word. Cast. A cast. Okay. I thought I was going to have my leg in a cast for the next 6 weeks, and I was at the end of my wits. I was just like, I'm not gonna do that, I can't do that. I've been under so much stress lately. This is the end of it. This is the end of the world, of my life. And if only I had known back then, 6 weeks wouldn't have been so bad. But yeah, anyway, fast forward, ambulance came, they gave me no painkillers whatsoever because they weren't allowed to for some reason. This whole part of the story is a big fat drama, so I'm just gonna skip through it. But basically we drove to the hospital, they did a lot of scans there, nobody spoke English, I only speak a little bit of Spanish, so I just was trying to get my way through. I was trying to talk my way through, ask questions, what are you going to do to me, what are we doing? What's the plan? You know, I was just in such a different mindset, in such a different world with my head. It's just everything that was happening wasn't really coming through. So yeah, they did a lot of scans, and eventually they said, you know, you broke your hip, and we're probably gonna put a screw in it to put the bones back together, and then you'll be fine. And I was like, okay. And at this point everything was happening so fast. Everything that happened, I was like, okay, processing, next step, okay, processing, next step. So they did, after that they did even more scans, because the doctor came to me and he said, you know, breaking your hip at your age is very suspicious. Nobody at your age just breaks her hip. So we're gonna do more scans. So then they did more scans, and then they said, you know, you have something in your leg, and we're not sure if it's a tumor or some kind of abscess or whatever. So I was like, again, like, okay, processing. And then eventually, I'm not even sure if it was the same day, but eventually a doctor came to me and he said, we think it's bone cancer. And that's basically when my whole world came crashing down, and I was just not processing anymore. God, yeah, I remember that moment. I cried a lot. And me being a dumb bitch again. First thing I asked, not like, oh, am I going to die? Or, oh, how bad is it? No, I asked, am I going to lose my hair? Seriously? Why? But yeah, I lost my hair, as you can see. So I stayed here for a week. I was unable to fly back home, obviously, since, you know, my hip had been broken. And eventually my mom came over and we tried to get me back to my own country. And we eventually did that with help of a doctor, blah blah. Basically, I flew on top of a couple of chairs, laying down backwards. And flying backwards is such a weird experience. Okay, so for brows I'm gonna be using the ABH Dip Brow Pomade, which is very expensive, but it's a good product. So, and if you're thinking, by the way, that I still have a good eyebrow considering the fact that I lose my hair, you're wrong, because I dye them. Whatever's left of them, I still dye it until eventually they'll all fall out. I think that one of the worst things from having cancer is not necessarily the hair loss on your head. I'm surprised by how okay I am with that. I really expected it to be really bad and I'd be really insecure about it. But it's not the hair on my head, it's the eyebrows and the lashes mostly, because when you lose your eyebrows you lose a bit of your identity. And as soon as you look in the mirror and you have no eyebrows and a bald face, it's really this typical cancer patient. You look in the mirror and you don't see yourself looking back, you see a very sick, typical cancer patient looking back at you, and that just destroys your soul, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, like I said, losing your hair is not really the worst thing on the planet. I actually think, you know, it was kind of cool at some points, seeing yourself with a little bald face, and it feels kind of freeing. But it's so freaking cold, oh my god. So fast forward to the months, yes, months I spent in the hospital. This is when things really turned into a real life nightmare for me. And this is honestly where I got traumatized. And that's not exaggerating, that's really what happened. Like, I still have trauma from the months I spent in the hospital. And for foundation, I'm using Milani Cosmetics 2-in-1 foundation and concealer. So basically what happened is that they gave me one chemo, just one, and everything went to total shit. I don't remember exactly how it all went anymore, because that's what happens with chemo, you forget things, and with trauma the same, you just live in the moment and you forget things. But they gave me this first chemo, which took 5 days. To get everything in my body, and then I went home and then I got very, very sick. Like, I don't remember everything specifically, but I went from having fever to having blood poisoning to having internal bleeding to having a infected colon, I think that's the right word, like your intestines that process your food and stuff. Yeah, well, mine got infected and it died, so they had to remove it, and now I don't have it anymore. Yeah, that's what made me very, 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 very sick for months on end. But it was literally like having daily problems. Just one day everything would be fine, and then the next I would have a new problem again. I would be very sick, or I would need blood transfusions again, or I was bleeding, and the next day I was kind of getting better, and then the day after that I was getting worse again, and it was just on and off and on and off, and it just seemed like it was never ending. So basically they had one operation that I was supposed to have, was to remove the cancer, remove the tumor, and put a hip prosthetic in place of the broken bones, because the bones were so fractured they weren't be able to save those anymore, so I needed a prosthetic. But they couldn't do that operation for months because I was getting so sick, and I was getting so sick, and I almost died a couple of times from blood loss. You know, these days were just the worst. They were just, I just kept bleeding everywhere, and there were just nights that I would woke up in the middle of the night and my entire bed would be covered in my own blood, and I was just swimming in my own blood in bed, and I would be so tired, because obviously blood loss, you get very tired. And then we had to call the nurse, and they're like, oh, we're gonna do some scans, we're gonna do some investigations, and you're gonna stay up for the entire night. And I'd be like, no, please, let me sleep. But that's what's tricky about it. That's the tricky thing about death. Death is not that you realize you are dying and it's a bad thing and you want to live. So you probably had a day at work that you felt sick, like really sick, and you went home, and then the road home takes forever because you're feeling really sick. And then you finally get home and you just fall on your bed or your couch or whatever, and then you're like, oh yes, I'm finally going to take a little nap, and then I'm gonna do my things someday, and I'm just gonna take a nice little nap. That's what it feels like. So you really want to take that nap, and I really wanted to sleep. And then the nurse just said to me, girl, if you go to sleep now, you will literally bleed to death. You will die. And that's pretty harsh to hear if you're just 22 and trying to live your life the best you can. And other than that, in my time in the hospital, I had loads of operations. Many of these were emergency operations because I was bleeding again, or I don't know, other things, and we just had to rush me to the operation room and get it done. And you know, eventually I was getting so used to getting operated. I was just, you know, I knew the whole drill. I knew, okay, we're first gonna do some little checks, and then we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna put you in that, and then we're gonna do this and that and that. And I just got kind of immune for the sedative, the stuff that puts you to sleep. So I was just laying there, and I was holding this air thing on my face. You know, they give you pure oxygen before you go to sleep, because so that you can fill your lungs with pure oxygen, and it's somehow better for you or whatever, I don't know. But I always want to hold it myself because it feels like somebody is choking me if someone else does it. So I'm just laying there, and I'm just waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. And I remember my dad being in the room with me because I was so scared of everything at this point. And my dad was like, oh, this is taking kind of long. And then the dude who was supposed to put me to sleep was very nervously saying, yeah. So they just couldn't put me to sleep anymore because I was just so immune to the sedative, or whatever it's called. Another thing that I think is kind of funny is that after a while I got physiological help from a psychiatrist, because obviously this was way too much to deal with for, you know, any person. Mind you that in all these, I stayed in the hospital for a total of 3 months, and all these 3 months I was not able to walk because my hip was still broken. So every day, all night, I stayed in bed. I could only lay in bed, and then once a day I could sort of make a transfer to a wheelchair. And then we could go to the restaurant downstairs, or just take a tour through the hospital. But that's it. So for 3 months you stay in your bed every day, every morning, every night, every midday, you know, it's just a lot. It really is a lot. If you have to just lay down, your whole body destroys itself because you don't move. Everything's bad. But so yeah, eventually I got physiological help, which was great. And he really was a good guy, but he was just kind of like, he was this typical psychiatrist that just exhumed this zen, this peace, this, you know, this whole aura. And then I remember just sitting there, like, and he was like, remember the sky, the air, people, the grass. And I just really had a hard time trying not to laugh. But he did help me a lot, so I'm not just gonna make a fool out of him, because he really did help me a lot. So for blush and contour, I'm gonna be using the NYX blush palette and the 3 Steps to Sculpt contour palette, also from NYX, because NYX is one of my favorite brands, and they're very nice, and they sent me a lot of goodies when I was in hospital, which was very, very sweet. Same goes for Mula Cosmetics, which is one of the nicest brands that I've ever met. They sent me so much stuff when I was sick, and they really cared about me. They asked how I was, and it was just way too sweet, and I cannot thank them enough for that. And all the other brands that have sent me PR packages while I was sick, knowing that I wouldn't be able to do anything with it, but still wanting to send me something that's incredibly sweet, and I am super, super thankful for that. So thank you. And I just honestly want to say thank you so much to everyone who has sent me a card when I was sick, or a message, or multiple messages, or multiple cards. It really, really means, honestly, it means the world to me, because I remember when I got my first card when I was in hospital, and I was like so happy, and I was like, oh my god, somebody's thinking of me. And I don't know, I just kind of expected everyone to just be like, well, that's too bad for you, you have cancer, but we're moving on with our own lives. But no, I got so many cards from friends and family and people that didn't even know me, and so many sweet messages from everyone on Instagram. Everyone has been super kind to me, and I could not have asked the world for better friends, better family, better Instagram followers and friends, honestly. Okay, so I have no lashes anymore thanks to my chemo, so I'm gonna be using some falsies. But honestly, oh, look at that! This is a PR package that I got from Mula Cosmetics. Like I said, Mulak is the best, and honestly, look how pretty this is. It does not even fit a frame, but I'm gonna try. Oh shit, things are falling out. Things are falling out. Woo. Okay, look how gorgeous. That is amazing. But yeah, I'm gonna be applying some falsies, so it looks like I have some lashes. I'm very bad at applying falsies, so this might take a while. Oh, and can I just say thank you to a couple of my favorite nurses, because I have to admit that every nurse, every doctor in the hospital has been nothing but kind to me, nothing but empathetic, and honestly so supportive. They really did everything for me, and I appreciate it so much. But there are just a couple of nurses in particular that really made my whole stay a little brighter, and I hope that they'll watch this someday. So if you're watching, Jitske, Leslie, Stefan, you guys are amazing. You really are the best. You did so much for me, and it means so much to me that you care so much about my whole situation, and that you guys just did more than just your job. You guys really were there for me as a person, and I really appreciate it from the bottom of my little heart. So thank you so much. Okay, so I got my lashes on. Don't know how I did it, but I did it. And I lined my lips, so now I'm just gonna fill them in with this Mula Cosmetics lipstick in the shade Mahila. I hope I pronounced that right. Okay, so that lipstick was not my jam, so I put this one on. This one is also by Mulak, and it's called Psychedelic. This one's a little extreme, but I don't mind. I like bold lipsticks, so I'm good with it. So yeah, last things that I wanted to say was another big thank you to my family and my boyfriend, because they have been taking such good care of me, both mentally and physically. They are always there for me. They always try their best to make my life as comfortable as possible, so that I can roll through this whole process of chemo after chemo after chemo, which is every time making me very sick. And just the fact that I still am not completely mobile again. So big thank you to them, because I love them so much and I really appreciate them as well, and I couldn't have done this whole journey without them, so thank you. And so yeah, what's happening now is that I am still in the process of getting chemotherapy, because the first one almost killed me and cost me one of my organs. We're taking it very slowly, and we're building it up every time that we go to see how much my body can handle. But yeah, I spoke to my oncologist this week and we're taking a little step back with the chemo, and from then on we're going to try and build it up again and see how much I can handle. There is supposedly a total of 14 chemos, but we're just gonna have to see how many of them I can take and how far we're gonna get. So I will probably be in and out of the hospital for the next year, which sucks honestly, because I'm kind of done with the whole cancer thing at this point. I'm like, you know, it's been a nice ride, but let's end it now. But sadly enough, I have no choice. So the diagnosis is still that we are aiming for recovery. So we're trying to get rid of every cancer cell that there is in my body, and we're going to try and minimize the chances of it ever coming back again. So hopefully we can exterminate the entire cancer and I will never have cancer again. Hopefully I will not die in the process either, because there's still a chance of that too. And my physiotherapists are also amazing. They really put me to work. Like really, it's very, very tiring, but it's good for me. And I've gone from being in a wheelchair to walking with 2 crutches to walking with 1 crutch. So we're getting somewhere, and hopefully one day I'll be able to walk without any crutches again, like a normal human being. Though my doctor said I probably would never have a normal pattern of walking again, and that I would have to teach that myself, to pretend that I'm walking like a normal person, but it would probably not come naturally to me anymore, because I have the hip prosthetic and because they removed quite a bit of muscles in my upper leg as well, because they were damaged by the tumor, or I'm not entirely sure, but I do miss a couple of muscles in my upper leg, so that is really making walking trickier than it would have been with them. And yeah, I get asked quite a bit, like, how do you do it? How do you live with your situation? How do you stay positive? Honestly, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just live with the day and I just do something. I try to make every day a good day. I try to see the good in little things. I really appreciate the little things, like having something nice to eat, because I really love food and I love cooking. Just doing small little things, like going out for small trips, going out for dinner, going out to, I don't know, anywhere basically, just to make my life a little bit easier, because I'm not able to work just yet. And I'm focusing on my hobbies, like my body painting and my watercolors. So that's everything I'm focusing on, to just try and stay positive. And you know, though I do say that at some points and some days it really does get incredibly tough, especially when you're feeling sick and you're reminded again that you can't just walk anywhere. I can't get myself in and out of bed, I cannot dress myself, I cannot take a shower by myself. So those things make it very, very tricky, and it really dehumanizes you in some ways. And there are things that I will never be able to do again. I will never be able to do most sports again, which I can live with, because I was never really a sporty person in the first place, so that's not too bad. But I will also probably never be able to run again, which I find pretty hard to live with. And I'm very scared that I will never be able to normally dance or swim again, because I really do love dancing and I do love swimming, and it would be devastating to me if I had done those things for the last time in my life last year. So that is something I really do struggle with every day, just the insecurity about my future and the enormous list of things that I am not allowed to do. I am not allowed to sit in most positions, because then my hip will dislocate. It has dislocated twice, so that's really not a good thing. And that, yeah, like I said, that's the thing that I struggle the most with. But other than that, I do have faith in the future. And if you are going through something similar, or if you do know someone that goes through something similar, cancer really is fucking horrible. It's boring as hell, because your whole life just kind of shuts down. But it's not impossible. It's not impossible to live with. It's not impossible to fight. you kind of have to try, and it's really tough, but like I said, it's not impossible. So thank you all for watching my story. I hope this video was not too long. It probably is, but I try my best. And thank you so much for listening to me, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to say something to me, don't ever be afraid to shoot me a message. I reply to everything because I have enough time on hands right now. And I hope this made things a little bit more clear if you know me or if you wanted to know more about my situation. And you know, I would say like and subscribe, but honestly I don't know if I'm gonna upload again on this YouTube channel, so do what you like, and maybe I'll see you in another video. So bye bye!